name's Dylan Bew, and this is my BMW F22. The whole idea behind this build was to see how far I could take a street car. That idea inspired me and got me going to see if I could build a car that's similarly capable to like a Bugatti or a original Koenigsegg Agera, you know. And this car has a similar power to weight and an incredibly stiff, robust chassis. So I think we got pretty close. For starters, this whole car is built on a tube chassis. This is not like a BMW 2 Series that I threw a big motor into. No, this is a full tube chassis race car that I put a street body on and registered it. The real benefits going with a tube chassis is you can make it incredibly robust and incredibly strong while still being very light. This car is just under 1,000 pounds less than an OEM BMW M2. And way more robust, way stronger, and way safer in the event of a very high-speed crash. So this chassis was 100% CAD designed from scratch. You know, it's not based off anything else, and I designed it myself, mainly so I could get it laser CNC cut out for my partners and friends over at Send Cut Send. They cut out this entire chassis, so each tube was perfectly notched and perfectly set. So all I had to do is go in there and bend and prep the tubes and build the chassis, put it together. In terms of materials, this whole chassis is 1 3/4 095 wall 4130 chromoly. I went with that route rather than mild steel or some of the other options due to its incredible strength. An 1 3/4 095 wall for the whole chassis is certainly overbuilt. And I wanted to err on that side. You know, I am not an engineer. I am not a professional race car builder. You know, I've cut my teeth learning how to do this myself. So I wanted some security there, overbuilding it to some degree. In addition to that, the whole chassis is TIG welded. That's really the only option when you're working with chromoly. So yeah, funny enough, I actually designed the chassis for a BMW E36 body. But as the project progressed and it got more and more serious, I decided I want to take it up a notch. I do love the E36 bodies, and I really hope to build one in the future. But to me, like a 2 Series or an M2 is just as good as it gets in terms of a BMW M car. So when the opportunity came up to buy a really nice shell, I took the opportunity and swapped to a 2 Series body. Surprisingly, the BMW E36 and the BMW 2 Series, like the original 2 Series, are almost identical cabs. I know they look very different, they have very different styling, but in terms of the overall dimensions, it's incredible how similar they are. I mean, the wheelbases are less than 1/2 inch off, and the actual body design of the shape of the cab is nearly identical. Because of this, it didn't take any modifications to my chassis design to work with the 2 Series body. And that was really the selling point. Before I made the switch to the 2 Series body, I found a 2 Series body in CAD, threw it on top of my model to verify everything, and surprisingly, it was basically perfect. The design and the design thinking for this car was really to just make as robust of a chassis as possible, so not only it'll be strong for the next couple years, but hopefully for 10, 15 years from now, I'll still be beating on and ripping on this chassis. And it's one of the cons to chromoly is over time, you sometimes get some like really small stress fractures, and one way to mitigate that is overbuilding it. So that's the route I took on this project because I know I want to use chromoly. It's way stronger than mild steel and overall better choice. But I did want this to last forever and have a long longevity. So I did overbuild the chassis a bit, and that reflects in my tube choice. You know, 1 3/4 095 wall for the entire chassis is thick wall. You know, that's big. A lot of people would run 1.5 inch stringers or 5/8 inch stringers with a thinner wall. But again, I just wanted something super robust, super overbuilt, to just be able to handle the stresses this car is going to see for many years to come. Another thing I considered when designing this car was it's kind of unique in the sense of its power to weight, and I'll get into that later, but it has a tremendously high power to weight ratio, which means it's really in a territory of its own. Most race cars on the track see maybe 150, 160, maybe 180 at the most. This car is capable of much more than that. Will I regularly drive it that fast? Very unlikely. But I do want it to be robust enough to be able to handle that. So that was also heavily factored into my overbuilt, robust chassis design. From start to finish, from the CAD design all the way to the finished product you see here today, or mostly finished product, was just under a year. I did this pretty quick, you know, and actually several months of that was just the design in CAD and getting it dialed in and locked in. I was using a program called Fusion 360, which, well, Fusion's great and I use it for everything. It isn't the best for tube work, you know, there are superior programs. So actually laying tubes is pretty difficult. So that was definitely part of it. And another part of it was just slowly working to figure out the end goal. You know, I was designing and thinking about this as I was building in CAD. So there was a couple steps back at one point and just making sure I had a really robust, solid chassis to build from here. After I had the chassis design all set up, all done, I sent it over to my friends over at Send Cut Send, and they got it CNC cut out, all sent to me on a big pallet. And while this service isn't live with them yet, I was a beta tester. I think it's gonna be live soon. You could go ask them about it. And when it does become live, it is gonna be incredible. It changes the game, you know, get a pallet with just CNC cut tubes. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. From there, I built the chassis in 2 or 3 parts. So one part was just the main A and B pillar, just to get the chassis, get the main hoops set up, get the floor done, and then build frontwards and backwards from there. Once I got the tubes and started tacking up the chassis for good and it wasn't coming back apart, the project actually went really quick. I think it was like 4 or 5 months from that point to today. And I sped through it. I wanted to get this project done. There was a lot of late nights, early mornings, but yeah, I got it done pretty quick. And I think it took me about 2, maybe 2.5 months to get the chassis fully welded up, chassis done, ready for a body, ready for suspension. The suspension on this car is somewhat untraditional. I chose to use Mustang S550 GT subframes, which is like a 2016 and newer subframes. And well, when you think of a Mustang GT, you probably don't think of a supercar or some crazy nice suspension or quality suspension. But the reality is the S550 Mustang GTs come with a 488 with a factory LSD and axles that can handle 1,000 horsepower from the factory. And it's a 65-inch track width, which is perfect for this F22 BMW with the wide body kit. You know, so with all those stars aligning, it just became a no-brainer choice. I'm all for custom suspension and doing things new and reinventing the wheel. But for something like this, I just decided there was no point in it. I wasn't gonna do better than the Ford engineers on this, especially reimagined into a build like this. This isn't in a 4,000-pound Mustang. This is in a 2,600-pound BMW. Once I decided on subframes, I got a set of Ford Mustang S550 GT subframes and just completely cut them apart. You know, the rear is more intact than the front, but the front is basically just the brackets left, you know, to maintain all of the geometry, all the right track width and everything. And the rear is a little more complete. It was French into the chassis, so it is definitely one with the chassis now, but it stayed more as a subframe. From there, the car was a roller. Now we needed drivetrain, and then it was gonna be ripping. For my drivetrain choice, slightly controversial, but I did go with an LS. It is a built all aluminum 5.3. So I think my motor was out of like a Buick Rainier or something. The aluminum 5.3s are actually pretty rare. You know, iron block 5.3s are a dime a dozen, but aluminum 5.3s, much more rare. I knew I wanted an aluminum LS because you save 100 pounds right off the bat just with an aluminum block. And from there, it's a rods pistons motor and full valve train, full top end, and nastiest cam I could run in it. From the beginning, I designed this engine to handle boost. You know, if I was gonna go with an LS, I wanted it to be super quick, super fast, and twin turbos were calling my name. For this, I partnered up with TurboSmart to get the baddest turbos in the game. These are 2 on the smaller side of turbos, and they spool instantly. Anything over 2,000 RPM, if I just give it half, 3/4 gas, full boost, just like that. I mean, they are incredible. And I'm sure in the sound clips in the beginning, and at some point I can throw some in here, you hear it. It's like nothing I've heard before. It's incredible. Mated to that LS is a Nissan CD009 transmission. And well, a lot of people will go with the T56. I am an avid T56 hater. If you want a truck transmission in your sports car, you can put a T56 in it. But I'm a believer in a sports car gear ratio, 6-speed manual. So for that, a CD009 is the only way. Also can handle like twice the torque of a T56 and costs less, etc., etc. Don't get me started. But I'm a CD009 believer. To go along with the F22 body, this car does have an HGK wide body kit, which, well, it looks pretty good. Not super stoked on the kit. I think that'll likely change. Yeah, I don't think that's a permanent one, but for now it looks all right. So does have an HGK kit, does have an HGK carbon hood, or carbon roof rather, but I don't know how long it's gonna stay like that. A lot of people ask me what my plans are with this car, and since the beginning, it's always just been a street car for me. I wanted to build the ultimate street car. Like, that was just my dream. I want a Koenigsegg or I want a Bugatti, but not in the budget for a long time, if ever, right? So I wanted to go build my own, and that was the theory. I finished this probably a month ago, maybe a little less, and I've already put 2,500 miles on it. I drove it all the way to Las Vegas from Colorado for LS Fest to be in the FabBot engineering booth, and I've driven it a ton around Colorado. My plan is just put a ton of miles on this, go have as much fun as I possibly can, go have a great time. And will it see some drifting? We'll do some road course stuff? Absolutely. I plan to do all of it. I plan to go have as much fun as possible on that. The street, the track, anywhere. You know, this car can do it all, and that's what I built it to do. Future plans for the car? Not sure. I think it's gonna be a long list of cycling things through, depending on if they work or not. I don't know. A lot of this is I took a first stab at it, and maybe some parts will need to be changed out. Some parts maybe need to be more robust or less robust, and go from there, you know? I don't have any crazy plans other than put a ton of miles on it and see what needs to change. So that's where I'm at right now. If you're stoked on the build, want to follow along, Instagram, that's where I post the most. That's where I do the most stuff, post the builds. I'm a big short form guy. I think that's where the world's going. So I post mostly on Instagram. It's the same as my YouTube, Built. Follow along, say what's up, DM me. Happy to talk if you got questions. Stoked on people building cool stuff. So ask away. Follow me on YouTube. I post less on here, but I'm trying to get better. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And again, my name is Dylan Bew, and I'm glad I got to show you my F22. See ya.